So, everyone hear me all right? Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so thanks for coming, everyone, braving the weather and difficult trains and everything. This is going to be the first panel of our 5th annual Live and Kicking conference. This panel will run from now till 2:15. There'll be a break from 2:15 to 2:30 where you can get drink and food and maybe speak to these guests. And then at 2:30 there'll be the second panel, which is all about music and mental health. This being the first panel is different, and the subject here is how can we develop a sustainable live music industry that works and is profitable for everyone: fans, artists, managers, venues, promoters, labels, merchandising companies, etc. So we have 3 great guests for you that have come down from London. We've got Andy Allen.
Hello.
Here, from Backstreet International, which is a merchandising firm. Next to him, Curnow from Wildlife Management, who represent Royal Blood and Arctic Monkeys. And then on the far end is Jagz Kooner, who's a producer, remixer, DJ, and he also runs Glastonbury's Acid Lounge. Some of you may even have been to that. Anyone been to that? No? Well, you should go.
They probably wouldn't remember anyway.
Yeah.
So they probably wouldn't remember.
Well, yes, maybe.
Hopefully.
We don't want to encourage that kind of behaviour, do we? But as well as doing these jobs currently, all the panel have quite diverse experience. Andy worked in management, Murray's been a promoter, and Jagz have already explained the different things that he does. So we're going to kick off talking about the various revenue streams that there are now in the modern music industry. And the first thing that I picked out is paid for meet and greets. So back in the day when I was a kid, and all right, that's a very long time ago, you could go and meet your heroes by waiting outside the venue or waiting outside the backstage area, or scanning security, or just sneaking in when you were not meant to, or even climbing through the windows. Many of us have done this. Mm-hmm. And not long ago at festivals, you get magazines like Enemy and Kerrang organising free meet and greets and signings. Okay, but now the common thing is to have, to actually pay to meet your stars. Often you are getting no more than 10 seconds to spend with them. So not really, probably not a meaningful experience for the fan or for the artist. But yeah, I just want you guys to sort of pick up on
Murray
that
and I were
discuss.
actually just talking about that, about how it is potentially a really good income stream. We get involved with some from time to time, but it depends on who the artist is, how comfortable they feel with it, and I guess what genre they're actively involved with. So it is something that's developing. Like you said, we've all done that bit about waiting outside the gig for your the band to sort of come out so that you can maybe be able to meet them. But now that's just developed so far on that it is the accepted norm. Murray was talking about you actually, for research purposes, went down to the U2 one. And
I've been to a couple. I mean, I think I can understand how it works as an additional revenue stream. I guess I'm more of a traditionalist where, like you say, Johnny, about waiting outside a venue to perhaps speak to your favourite bands is kind of like the way to do it, rather than charging these fans money for, as you say, 10 seconds or part of their time. The VIP experiences, they range from like the meet and greets or the whole sort of night that could be, a free meal, free drink, T-shirt, and a museum of memorabilia of the band and a tour of that, which I think probably only works for sort of heritage acts. I think think for us, or certainly for us, for in our roster, and the acts that we look after, I think charging fans to meet them is probably not the kind of route we want to go down. But again, I think it's genre. I understand how for your major pop stars it can be additional revenue stream.
And artists now are, and management and such like, and obviously, so with me involved being a merchandising company, we are looking for increased revenue streams. So this is an obvious area of where we can go to. I think that the parameters have changed in terms of we're there, and the bands are there, maybe thinking that on an integrity level or a credibility level, this is a little bit questionable. I think from a fan's perspective, sometimes we possibly misinterpret what they really want out of it, and I think that's a really hard thing to judge. I don't think I have a good judgment on it. I think sometimes you're looking at it from another perspective. People do want to have that opportunity about actually even meeting, even if it is for a brief moment in time. So, and like I said, from us as a business-wise, that has turned into something which is quite seriously addressed on a regular basis. You know, and then that can range where you can turn it. And again, Murray and I were just having a quick chat about it. Is that you can have that experience there where if your artist isn't feeling comfortable about it, and wants to do something in a different way, you could have. Well, we've had a few artists that have actually done guitar lessons where they've had like an exclusive half a dozen or 10 people in for an hour, where they're actually taking them through some part of that process and then bringing them further into who they are and what they're about.
I mean, the guitar lesson sounds like a great thing.
Yeah,
It really does sound like a really good thing.
Yeah. Well, we've even done it where when I was managing. I mean, this goes back when I was managing a band called Swerve Driver. I doubt anyone's heard of, but we're on Creation.
Yeah, they were fantastic band.
Back in the
Great
day,
band.
yeah, on there. So they didn't. There was a lot of installs that were going on, and they didn't really feel. It wasn't they didn't feel comfortable about the installs, but they didn't want to do any. They didn't call them meet and greets. They were calling them grip and grins, as everyone did, and they didn't really want to do that under just the normal guises of like finish the sound check, go in, and then this line of program directors or certain fans that won in the competition to do. So what we did was that we actually did an install at a record store nearby at the venue in the afternoon, and then we made sure that each of the venues had, or each of the stores like just had some couches around, and then also Jagz was really into his DJing, so Jagz put some stuff on, and then we had where Adam, the singer, was like, it's actually no wonder we didn't get anywhere because Adam just didn't stop playing on the PlayStation, playing FIFA. So that's possibly an explanation why. And no, they did all right on putting it down. But nobody could beat him at FIFA, or we thought nobody could beat him at FIFA. So then we just launched this thing saying, well, if you want to come down and you want to challenge him, you got 5 minutes or a game to do. And he never got beaten on the entire tour, and we did about 40 odd dates. Wow. So the thing being is that you can adapt that around that to actually just doing it. It's just being inventive. It's just coming in and then just possibly seeing it from a different angle. And all the people that just came in, they had a really good experience. And it touched on the personality of the artist, and that's really crucial to then, on a more longevity level, actually engaging further with that artist, and then feeling part of the mix, I think.
That's great. I mean, I think, to be stuck in a line, to have 10 seconds and a shake of the hand with an artist is probably fairly unsatisfying. So finding creative ways to make it more of a meaningful experience.
Yeah, but it depends on the level of where you're at.
Yeah.
When Murray was talking about U2, I think that's just part and parcel of where it's at, and I think that fans generally probably expect they're only going to get a fleeting, chance of a handshake and go on. When it's at different genres or further on down the line in terms of profile on there, and that's not demeaning it. It's just being realistic about it and where an artist is at on there. I think that there just needs. Sometimes if you just address it in a different manner, you're going to get a more satisfying result all round for the artist and for the fan.
Okay, so Murray, you say that you've done some investigation into it, going to see what some of the bigger bands do. Have you implemented any of that with your artists?
No, and it's something that we're probably going to avoid for
Yeah.
some time. I think Andy's right there. That, you know, there's ways you can kind of personalise it and make it a comfortable experience and a little bit more meaningful. But at the end of the day, you're having to charge a fan for that privilege. Whereas, you know, we do the meet and greets, we do the in-stores, the signings.
But they're all free.
And they're all free. You know, it will require the fan to queue, and you know, but if the fan is keen on doing so, then they will save it, you know, to do that. But then we'll also, you know, the bands will come out at the merch stand in some cases. I mean, I think the idea of the kind of paid for meet and greets or the VIP experience is very much an Americanized thing that started to become the norm in certain genres, and it's widening, and you know, more bands are getting involved in it. It's not something I think the acts on our roster it wouldn't be right for, and probably would have a resistance if we presented them with that. But as I say, for the heritage acts, so an act like Metallica and U2 that can run a memorabilia museum backstage at the O2 Arena, and know that they can charge 200 quid or 250 quid for a fan to come round and have a bit of dinner, get a t-shirt, get a good seat at the show, well then it kind of makes a bit more sense. But the more it becomes the norm, the less of a stigma that will be attached to it.
Undoubtedly.
You know, if it's suddenly the thing that, you know, we might think about the credibility of doing such a thing, but in 5 years' time.
I think you've hit the nail on the head, because you remember, sound like a really old git, but back in the day when sync licensing was like really fucking like, woo, nobody wanted to touch that on there. It was like really frowned upon, and now it is like, it's actually a potential key income stream.
Oh, absolutely.
Where it's just not even thought about. I was managing a band called Reef, and they were on a Sony mini disc ad, and
that must have been the really early days of syncing then, really.
Yeah, it was. You know, we're talking about 93, I don't know, something like that. Anyway, and it was, I had to really convince the band about, you know, I don't think they ever forgave me for it anyway, but you know, I really had to like cajole them into it, and like now, you'd be, you know, I mean, you'd be chomping at the bit to do it. So, in that respect, taking it into this, I think you're right. I really do. You know, I think it will become the norm, because you've got to work out ways of generating income, haven't you?
Yeah, you know, with the sync, you know, our viewpoint on synchronization is we're pretty thorough in terms of researching the brand and the terms of that synchronization. It might be it's in certain territories and we can limit, you know, we can, if you have a bit of, if it's a great track, it's a big track, then you have a bit more control over it, because they obviously want that track and will pay a premium to get it. And you can kind of structure the contract around what you're comfortable with as well, and what the artist is comfortable with. But yeah, certainly, you know, those opportunities you look at a little closer each time, because, you know, it could be a big fee that is going to subsidise other, you know, areas that, you know, touring or whatever, it can be used for that. So,
Laurie, you were saying about the credibility issue kind of preventing you doing paid for meet and greets with your roster of artists. Are there any other reasons that make you feel it's not a good idea?
I think I guess for me personally, it's a bit of a moral issue where paying to meet someone seems an absurd concept. I think it's probably something that I certainly would never do. It's just, it seems like quite an alien concept to me, but
I mean, part of the fun of going to gigs when you were younger was being a bit cheeky and pushing to try and get through the door that you weren't meant to, and talk to people that, you know, are kind of up on a pedestal.
And I guess it keeps you sort of active. So when, you know, you'll wait until that record comes out and there's a signing at whatever local record store if they're still doing that kind of thing, or you're waiting out after a show to meet them, or it's winning tickets to, you know, you're applying for competition tickets at a radio session or something where you know that it's going to be intimate surrounding to, you'll probably get a quick shake, but you're not paying for the pleasure. I guess the credibility thing. I mean, I think we feel confident that the artists that we represent probably wouldn't consider the possibility of charging people to say hello.
Okay. Is there anyone here that has done a paid full meet and greet or been to a paid full meet and greet? Wow. Okay. Quite surprised, but I know there are plenty of our students that have.
Would anyone do it? You would?
It would, but it depends on the experience. Like, it have to be, I think, different. Like, the FIFA thing, for example, I think, because 10 seconds for like 200 odd quid or 60 quid.
I think, I agree with you. I think the concept of it is a really good idea, because in this day and age, with social media and everything else that's going on, you have more of a direct connection with the artist anyway. You know, they'll post an Instagram story of them in the studio putting down a guitar track or whatever. So you know, the days of before where, you know, if a band toured, you didn't know what they were doing in the studio, you didn't know what was going on, so you wanted that connection with them, so you'd go and hang by the stage door and stuff. But now the way that it is, it's like everyone's posting what they're doing on a daily basis. The problem I've got with it at the moment is it's open for abuse. You know, it's like, people are seeing it as a revenue stream of making money, as opposed to, well, what are we giving the fans? And for me, it's like, well, that what you're just saying, you know, the Taylor Swift, you know, you go and the meet and greet is actually just you stand in a line, you go and have a photo taken, and then you're off. And if you're going to do it, you got to make it, you know. It's almost like it gets to the point where the fans get abused in order for you to make money, you know, and that was never really the case with any band. You know, you're nothing without your fans. You know, you're nothing without the people who buy your records. So if you're going to do this kind of package where you do a meet and greet or whatever, you got to really think about it. You know, we've done stuff because I worked with a few bands, and not that we charged them, but there were fans who were like hassling band stuff and be like, all right, well look, come and hang out in the studio with us for a day. You know, just come and just sit in the studio, you know, just have a laugh with us, have a beer, you know. And it weren't really a fact of like, well, oh look, we can get 250 quid out of them for doing this. It's like, it's to make the connection with the fans so that you get this lifelong attachment sort of connection with them. And I think at the moment with the music industry, there's a lot of headless chickens running around trying to go, well, shit, how do we make money out of this? Oh, well, we can get people to stand in a line and get 50 quid out of them, just have a picture taken. Oh, great, yeah, okay, let's do that. It's like, well, hold on, what are you giving the fan there? Is there any kind of connection? They might have a picture that they take away and stick on their wall, go, look, I met that person. But that isn't really, to me, that's like selling them short. And I think if you're going to do this whole, especially now with social media where you have a direct connection with the artist, you know, you can message them and sometimes they message you back and you can see what they're doing in the studio and you can see what's going on a day-to-day basis. It isn't you find out about them when the tour's announced or whatever, or when their album's announced. So, you know, it's more of a direct and personal connection. So if you're going to do this whole bring the fan in more and charge them for it, then you got to give them something pretty special, you know. You got to give them, okay, guitar, you know, come in and learn the guitar, you know, the chords to the song. Come and hang out in the studio, see what's going on for a day. Jump on the tour bus for one evening, and we'll drop you off in another, you know, because that was part of the thing, you know what I mean? When it's like, oh, wow, you know, the tour bus, oh, wow, it's amazing, you know. So, you know, you do all of that, and then you make it quite exciting. Then you make it quite appealing to people. And to me, that's not selling it short. That's actually giving them an experience where it's like they're getting a better connection with the artist than it is just, give us 250 quid, we'll sit you over there, you'll have a nice bit of food, you get a decent seat, and at the end of it, you can come and say hello to me and take a picture, and then you can fuck off. You know what I mean? That's not really a connecting with the band. That's not really
Totally agree with you. But I think it's just, it just depends on who the artist is and also the genre where it's at. I think that the majority of the people that and it's not putting them down, but the majority of people that are probably going to see Taylor Swift, they'd be happy probably with that selfie.
They would be, yeah.
That would do them on there.
Yeah, but the concept of what you were saying, that in a few years' time it would obviously not be such a stigma sort of look when we looking back. But if you're going to move it in that direction, I think it's good to, okay, what can we give the fans here?
Yeah.
You know, you know, get them in the studio, get them on the tour bus, pick them up, drop them off there. Let's go and hang out. You know. Yeah. DJ it somewhere and get all the fans to come down.
Yeah.
Play bloody FIFA with them while you're sitting there waiting for something. All that kind. That's
Adam
what.
along.
Yeah.
Yes, if he's
do you know what I
he's
mean?
still
That's
got it.
that's the thing. If you can do all that, then it's a memorable experience that they will cherish rather than, oh, I felt a bit shortchanged there, sort of thing.
Well, I guess it is a memorable, that kind of thing, as you described, it totally is a memorable experience, and it has that meaningful connection. But I just think at the end of the day, then, is it still going to be as meaningful knowing that you paid X amount for the pleasure? You know what I mean? So you're there, you've got all this, as the artist, you've really got, the artist is the key thing here. The artist really got
Totally,
to and engage with it, and you know, it's like other monetising other things like a fan club or something, which is, you know, we've always looked into that idea of how do we get people, you know, how does that become a revenue stream? But it requires the artist to be engaged to provide content, you know, or personalised messages or something. That
Certain bands it will work
so
with.
value,
Certain bands it will work with, and I totally agree.
Yeah.
But a lot of bands now, and a lot of the way it's done now is, and goes for some of the, you know, rock god bands as well. You know, it's like the ones, you know, they're, you know, on social media, on Instagram, they're posting their stories, they're posting pictures, they're posting, you know, on a day-to-day basis. So the connection's more direct. And I think, you know, if you're going to make that grow with the meet and greets, and if you're going to do all of that, and you know, you're right. At the moment, there is that kind of stigma. There is, you know, in 5 years' time, it might be, you know, that's the norm and it's the accepted done thing. You know, I know if you buy an album on Pledge or GoFundMe or whatever, you know, you can get the song lyrics if you pay a bit extra, or you get a signed CD or a signed vinyl, or they might sell the guitar that they recorded the bloody album with and things like that. So I like that kind of concept because it's more than just, you know, a little, you know, thing. But you just got to be careful how it grows into whether it's like it's engaging for the fans or whether it's like a money-making scheme.
Yeah, I mean, one example I sort of was going to bring up was Chance the Rapper, who, because of his business model, is, you know, really dependent on that direct relationship with the fans, and he's been very, very good at this over the years, and he you know, he obviously has a very sort of friendly persona, and it's all been about the fans. And I was talking to a friend of mine in America, and she was saying that, you know, she went to a lot of the early Chance shows, and you know, went to the meet and greets, and he would always spend a lot of time talking to everybody, and you got an insight into his life and everything. But now, because he's so big, the crowds and the amount of people wanting to go to these meet and greets is massive. And so she went earlier this year, and it was like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really work. It doesn't really work for anybody. I don't think. It doesn't work for the fans or the artists.
Well, you will get a backlash on that.
Yeah.
And there are other ways of doing it. In the terms of, I don't know how familiar you guys are with various social media celebrities or YouTubers, etc. But when they're actually doing meet and greets, they'll do it where they're actually selling a product at the same time. So you book the poster and you get the poster signed.
Yeah.
You know, Gary Newman, like him or loathe him, is a stalwart of the industry. When he goes on tour, he pitches up after the gig with a table, chair outside the tour bus, and just stays there until he sees everyone signing stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Turning it into money.
Which is brilliant.
By the merch stall.
Yeah.
Turning it into money.
Yeah.
Chatting with somebody for 10 minutes if they want to chat for 10
That's
minutes.
perfect.
It's turning it into money. So there are alternative ways
all of that works. You've got to give the
Yeah.
fans that value for money as such, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's maybe not a meet and greet in the sense of you're paying money to go meet Gary Newman, but if he's at the merch stall and you're buying a poster or a CD or a vinyl or a t-shirt or whatever, that he's making money off that, you get to speak to him, and it's...
I think it also goes from when we've all gone about it's buying into the artist as well,
Totally.
and also then being part of that process of being part of the success of that artist.
Yeah.
Because that they know that money's going into his pocket, which means he's going to carry on doing what he's doing, and they are going to get pleasure from actually being part of it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I mean that's you know, it's we deal with Scroobius Pip, and I love him. just on the point of what he does, and he comes up with madcap ideas, and he turns up at the warehouse and like just takes everyone down the pub, and I mean literally just stops production. We're in there, I'm phoning up going, mate, fucking get them back for you, for fuck's sake, I need to get some orders out. But anyway, he you know he's got ways and means of doing things in a very different anti-way. So Black Friday shuts the store, doesn't sell anything on the store.
Yeah.
Famed for it now, do you know, or known for it now. There are those aspects of how he's turning it around. So there's so many ways you can get, but people have bought into him. It doesn't matter what he does, how he does it. His integrity is intact, and he's doing it because it's him. It's coming genuine. It's from the hip.
Yeah, well,
you know.
it's one of the acts I've worked with over the years is Reverend and the Makers, and one of the things that the band actually do is once they've done a gig, John will pick up an acoustic guitar and say to everyone, right, outside after the gig, and everybody will run out onto the streets, and he'll have his guitar and he'll go, right, somebody give me a song, and there'll be like 80, 100 people standing around. He'll just play his guitar and sing, and everybody join in. So it's almost like you're getting 2 gigs for the price of one sort of thing. And then he does this other thing, which is genius as well. He'll come round your house, you win a gig in your house. So him and a couple of the band will turn up and do a gig in your house.
For free.
Huh? Yeah, for free. I mean, you could monetize that if you wanted, but it's more a case of like, you're making that connection. You know, if you want to monetize it, and in this day and age when it's getting harder to make money, then how do you monetize that? But that it's as long as you maintain the connection with the fans, you know, as long as there isn't a backlash of going, well, hold on, I paid a lot of money to do that, and all they did was gave me a picture and disappeared, and that was it. And
I mean, the Libertines would do a similar thing, you know, they would go, they'd play a gig and then they'd do a gig outside, you know, in a car park or whatever, or around fans' flats. Sometimes they'd do it for free, but sometimes they'd monetise it for lifestyle expenses.
Yeah, no, well, do you know what? This is the thing. Is, you know, I mean, you know, you can rock up at somebody's house in like, you know, in Rotherham or something, and it's just you're literally in their front room doing a gig. And then other times it could be, you know, somebody wants a private gig as such. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, some of the big artists who've been going to certain parts of the world and playing for extremely rich people, making shitloads of money. It's like there's a scale there. There's a scale there that you need to look at as well. So to me, as long as the fans are getting value for money, that's the most important part, and that's where we got to be really careful that it doesn't turn into this thing. Well, we can milk them for all they're worth. You know, there used to be this thing where CDs, or Johnny, you know, it's like when we released songs before. It's like, okay, the 7-inch would have this song and that song. The 12-inch would have that song and 2 other songs, but then in order to try and get them to buy the CD as well as the vinyl, we'd put different songs on there. And I'd be like, why are you doing that? Why are you making them jump through hoops to try and get every song? Can you not just get it all in one go and give it to them? And they'd be, oh no, well, we have to monetize it because that way we make more money out of those different, you know. And I was just like, okay, I mean, I'm sure they made money, but I just find that a bit of a con, really. You know, if you're going to do it, you know, and the whole streaming thing now as well, which has liberated that sort of, you put all your songs online and people choose which ones they want to dig. You know, it's in a way, it's kind of, you know, the fans aren't stupid. They'll realise things along the way and realise that it's got to be done, you know, or they'll walk away. They'll walk away, and that's it, really.
You had a good example of a fan experience that was monetised in favour of the artist. So with Suicide Silence, so just tell the audience.
Well, it's a shame we can't project it, but basically there was this. Okay, let me just say. It's this band called Suicide Silence, who are an American sort of metal rock band. I've sent Johnny the link. I don't know if you want to forward it to everybody afterwards anyway. But basically, one of their PR scams or schemes was actually to charge people to be their roadies for the day. And you basically pay $150 and you get to be their roadie for the day. And basically, for that package, you basically got to lug in the equipment, set it up, go have food with the crew.
Not the band.
Not the band. and then go and stand side stage in case something didn't work or whatever. And people bought into that. You know,
like being a zookeeper for a day at London Zoo.
I can't think of anything worse than being the roadie and paying money rather than getting paid to do it.
$150.
$150 a day. I've sent it to you, John. If you want to forward it to everyone, but that's where we're at.
Yeah.
You know, peak implosion. Maybe there's probably a bit more you could go on that. You know, it's like, okay, so where did the band or the management or where did anybody involved in the outfit suddenly go, that's a great idea, and nobody actually went, well, hold on, isn't that taking the piss? You know, where, you know, it's like, because it's got to the point where it's like, it's not about the fan, it's just about us making as much money as we can doing it. You know, you're not going to get to see the band, you know, the sound checks, you know, the mystique of being a roadie is the fact that you set up the equipment, you tune the guitars, you tune the drums, you make sure the monitor's working, the band will walk out, play the songs and disappear, and then you pack away. There is no connection with the band, you know, there is no hanging out with them, there's no chatting to them or anything like that. And so if it can go one further of stupidity, I've yet to see it, but there you go, that's where we're at the moment. So, you know, let's see.
I can't see that happening with Royal Blood or Arctic Monkeys.
I can't see it happening with a lot of bands. I think, you know, the backlash from that in itself was pretty severe, you know. But they did it, and people paid. I don't know who.
So maybe
We need some names.
For some people. But,
Yeah.
Moving along, with all the advanced technology going on at the moment, there's the whole VR gigs thing is developing, where you can watch gigs from the comfort of your own home using Google Daydream or Samsung Gear. So it's a bit like 21st century opera glasses. And Coldplay have done it, Imagine Dragons have done it, Boiler Room DJ sets have been done in this way. In talking to students about a year ago, the students that I spoke to all had bad experiences of the VR gigs. I don't know whether you guys have any positive experiences of watching VR gigs.
What a surprise.
Huh?
What a surprise.
What a surprise. Yeah.
Well, I suppose in a way, it's like the whole point of going to a gig is you can stand there and you don't know the person next to you and they're looking out, going singing along, and that just gives you the excitement of energy of being at a gig. It's just that, you know, you're all together as one. It's an experience. It's a shared experience. That's what makes it great. That's what gigs are about, you know. And you know, they never translate to any medium. You know, I recorded this footage from a gig and it was amazing. Look at it on my phone. Well, that looks pretty shit to me, really. Well, you had to be there. Well, I wasn't, so it doesn't work on your phone, you know. Yeah. So I don't get it. How, you know? Once again, is that for the fans or is that a revenue stream thing? It's just like, you know, it's just like, come on, people.
It's really in its infancy as well, though, isn't it? So it's just like it hasn't. Yeah, I'll do. Yeah, I'll do. I think on there. I think we're all. It's not for us.
Right.
It's for a much younger audience that then get born into it, that then get it to where it's not even just accepted. It's required and wanted, and
I suppose it could
once the
work.
Experience gets better on there, then it develops from there. I'll do, you know.
I think it's early, like you said, it's early days. So I'm sure, you know, I'm probably be proved wrong on that, and it will work in the future. And you know,
I get what you're saying because I'm with you on there. How can you replace being in front, you know, being at a show, going mental, watching the most amazing band that you've ever come across that's making you want to just jump 20 feet in the air and just, you know what I mean? Like all those sort of feelings that you get, which is, I know why we're all here or why we've gone into the industry. None of us have gone in there to go, I want to make loads of money, right? Because we know we do
it for the pain.
Right?
We love it.
So,
we love it. Yeah, we love it. You know,
and that's it. Yeah. And that's why we've done what we do. where we're at. I just think that experience, bits and pieces have changed. I've got, I'm old enough to have kids now, and I've got a 13-and-a-half-year-old son, and I've got an 11-year-old daughter, and their experience about stuff, how they're relating to me about things is totally different. It really feels like me talking to my old man.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
fair enough.
he's like, I'm thinking, I remember when my old man thinking, you haven't got a fucking clue, right? You do not know. And I'm standing there, I've now become this person. I've become my dad. And I'm in there just going, shit. I'm trying to be the cool dad and like hang out and everything like that. They go, no way. Could you just, it is even like, can you just park around the corner so I could just walk the rest of the way to my mates?
Yeah. Well, I think.
But anyway, the thing being is that when they're talking to me about certain things in there, like for instance, I mean, it's taken away from music to a certain bit, but it's coming to this why I think that VR experience is going to be a success once the technology really develops and once it ramps up, is because I don't know how many of you are gamers and stuff like that. My kid, 13-and-a-half-year-old, is a gamer. Do you know what I mean?
So he's online with.
He's socialising. This is his way of socialising.
Yeah, they're online with everybody. Yeah, it's brilliant.
This is a foreign concept to me. You know what I mean? It's just like I'm in there just going, what are you doing? Get out.
Yeah.
Go and kick a ball about. Go and go, go and ride your bike. He hasn't even got a bike anymore.
I suppose.
You know what I mean? It's just like go and do something there where you're interacting directly with your mates and you're going out to a coffee shop or whatever.
Rather than staring at your phone.
Coffee shop, because obviously we're middle class living in Muswell Hill. Do you know what I mean? But it's like, but he. That's not where he's at. He's looking at me like, well, what? I don't care what you did. Do you know what I mean? This is what I'm doing. This is how I'm getting my buzz, and I can see it. I get it. And that's where I think, from there on, it's just like, do we feel comfortable about it? No, we don't feel comfortable about it. It's like the meet and greets come back and say, none of us feel comfortable about it. We think it's a pile of shit, really, but it's just becoming.
It's early days. It's in its infancy. I think that's the thing. I think with VR as well, if you're going to do it, you're going to need some kind of neural receptor device connected to your head to actually feel the experience, and then I'll be happy. Yeah, possibly.
And I think that's maybe where it'll be.
Press a button and you'll smell the smell of sweat.
Yeah, and the toilets. Then you're in the zone.
But they are pushing the VR thing on to the point. I'm not sure whether it's actually been launched yet, but. They are talking about having hiring out VR glasses actually at gigs. So even though you might be standing at the back, you can have the experience of being at the front or being on stage by flicking various switches.
Yeah, I could dig that.
Appear to be on the drum.
We've explored that. Not that I was party to it, but we do. We're involved on the merchandise side with public service broadcasting. Yeah. And when they did the gig at the Jodrell Bank, there's this nutty bloke that a couple of us know in the office that he's basically invented loads of stuff, and he's mad on VR. And he was one. We tried to put them together, but it just wasn't enough time to get it sorted out where you would have that 360-degree VR experience where you could indulge in on it. So and that sort of artist, like you said, like on there, that could end up being an amazing experience.
Yeah, no, that could be brilliant. I mean, I just changing it slightly. I remember the early days of silent discos. And it's the same concept. It's like you go and stand in. I remember when we did it at Glastonbury in one of the dance tents. After a while, because of the noise limitations, that you'd have to just all go in with headphones, and at first it was cool because everybody was dancing to the same thing because it was the one channel. Yeah. But then it started to mutate where you could have you could switch between your dance channel to your reggae and to your ambient. So you had one person just going crazy and the person next to you just kind of like doing this, and it was quite entertaining to watch. But I don't know, there was it lost a little bit. But it's one of them things where it's just like these are certain bits of technology and certain things will come along where certain things will work and others will just fall by the wayside, and other things will kind of come out of that from the things that didn't work as such. So. Yeah, let's see where it goes. It's exciting times either way.
I think it's definitely slower though. I think a lot of people thought that was. I mean, we were told that this year is going to be by Christmas last year that one in some mad stat, like one in 25 households will have a VR headset. I think it's not cottoned on as quickly as they
No.
sort of anticipated. But you know, we did a Royal Blood show at Birmingham NEC with a company called Melody VR, who sort of have deals with all the major labels, and we've yet to see that footage yet. The turnaround time is obviously quite slow, but it'd be interesting to see then. But really, for us, our usage of that is going to be hitting people in territories that we're not going to get to. So, you know, places where we won't be able to go and talk because financially we can't. This gives them the opportunity to view a show, you know, that's the audio is recorded.
Yeah.
You know, the visuals, okay, it gives you the other side of it. But usually those shows, you know, we sort of tried it with the Birmingham Arena, but I think those shows really work if it's a unique location. Right?
Yeah.
So somewhere that, like Red Rocks Amphitheatre in
Yeah.
Columbus, like, it's an amazing venue, and I would never know, you know, I'd say I probably wouldn't get to a gig there in my lifetime necessarily.
Yeah.
So to see those kind of, or the more bespoke kind of random places, I think that's where it,
I get that. I totally get that.
Or there's this tiny show watching Arctic Monkey play.
But also the concept of like if you're in a remote area or whatever, then you can join in. Then I get that.
Yeah,
that makes sense as well, you know. But yeah, it's early days on all of that really, and I think that's the thing is when you know technology moves fast, but the ideas of what you can do with technology move a lot faster than the technology does. Yeah. So people actually start thinking about what they can do with it before the technology is actually ready to implement that. And then there's that kind of thing where you're let down because it didn't work. You know, where the concept of it could work and probably will in the future, but it's just not there yet. So to sell it to people based on that you can have that experience and it doesn't quite is, I don't know, that's the thing.
Because it was interesting you say about that, you know, when you're showing somebody, like somebody's showing you some footage from a live show and saying it's amazing, I've got exactly the same response as you would have. It's just like, well, I wasn't there, so how could I get it? How well, and I don't know, I'm just asking a question, how well has the, where you can go and watch the show and then you've got like a USB stick that's like plugged into about 15,000 channels or whatever and stuff that's ready for you to walk out the show with?
Yeah.
How well is that done? Do you know what I mean? Because I know that got sold. I mean, I know we had a lot
see,
of that.
this is the thing is, there's a lot you can. I mean, you know, like, okay, the other thing was like, you know, you go to the gig, and if you hang around 45 minutes after the gig, on your way out, you can buy the CD of the gig and things like that. There was all that kind of thing as well, and I think all of that's brilliant.
That's what I was meaning.
You know, all of those things are brilliant, but it's really hard to get it right, I think. That's the problem. I mean, you know, if you're going to record a gig, you know, unless you've got the BBC's top crew there, and unless you've got an outside broadcast unit, and unless you've got the best engineers, and you're filming from every location, and everything's been lit up really well, and, you know, it's
and
really...
the band are on form.
And the band are on form, and the sound is brilliant.
Yeah.
There's a lot of factors in there that can actually go... and be detrimental to you, to it being, well, hold on, I had a brilliant time, and I've got the USB or I got the CD, and I get shit, I don't remember it being like that. It was a lot better than that sort of thing, you know. So it's hard to factor that sort of thing into it. But those things
that does fall into the same thing with the VR experience.
Yeah,
if it's not ready there.
If it's not, and it's, you know.
Because could it be? It might be an income stream.
It's a brilliant thing, and it could work really well. USB sticks are cheap. You could just you know include it in the price of a ticket. All of that sort of stuff is a great idea, but you got to make sure you get the sound right, the lighting right, the cameras are set up everywhere, the band are on form, the sound's brilliant, and and it's just
because you guys must have been, you know, approached about this.
Well, because we recorded a show that's being. Audio is being mixed at the moment, and this was a show recorded back in November.
Right.
So, you know, the audio's just been approved, and that goes through us approving it, the artist approving it, sound engineer having listened to it, their in-house team listen to it, you know, and then the visuals we've got to go through, and again, we'll have to watch all of that and go. You know, it might be that someone's making a stupid face at one point and says, "Don't know why I look there. Can we change that shot?" Or you know, it's.
I suppose I suppose that's something to think about in the future for live, isn't it? Really, It's like, okay, make sure you're on form, make sure the sound's brilliant, make sure the lighting's really well. And I think you can do that, especially nowadays with the technology, with a lot of bands, you know, lighting rigs are automated and all sorts of things can be done with the sound as well, and the technology for live sound as well is really advanced as well. So the potential's there. It's just still a lot of factors that have to be right on the night to it work brilliantly. And the turnaround time. If it's 2 months later, will anyone care whether they wanted to get that gig?
That's it, it's an archive. But if it's a live VR gig, and you know, I know that they're suggesting that you buy a virtual ticket, you know, and that's their kind of advance into that. Again, something that I would probably not want to get into, because I think that's again I could sit in my front room and watch it for 99p or whatever it is, or 9.99 for this live stream.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to prevent me going out to buy an actual ticket to go and see the show. Where for us, that's the revenue stream. The live and touring income is the number one revenue.
Yeah, totally.
For now, cost of that.
Would it, sorry to interject here, but would it not potentially follow in the same vein as maybe like sort of footballers, that they were apprehensive about people attending the live experience by having the matches shown live as well? But what seems to have had is that it seems to have just expanded the audience even further.
Another way to look at it, I think, it might be that is the way this is going to move forward. I guess, as I say, I think the value that we see in it is hitting people that won't have access to that.
That I think is a perfect environment. Yeah, I absolutely.
And obviously, there's various countries where we can't afford to tour, or the fees don't add up, and and this kind of ticks a box like that.
Yeah.
Do you think that the VR gig thing, if it does take off, is going to have a negative impact on attendance at shows, and then that's going to affect venues and
cynically looking at it, but it's got to be a really large scale, or actually smaller scale, for people to actually feel that people aren't coming to our gig.
Well, I suppose you could limit it. There's only so many live streams, VR streams, that you will put out, and everybody else has to buy.
Sold out on VR.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yes. No more VR tickets left.
No, yeah. And then you've got touts on there.
We've gone over time, but I do just one thing just that I do want to ask about. We touched on merchandising, but just to say a little bit more, and you were saying the other day about how merchandising used to be very much bottom of the chain in terms of revenue and in terms of...
And more about people attending to it and focusing on it, because, like I said to you before, is that we totally understand that the main focus for an artist, without the music and without the artist, we don't have anything to sell. So we don't. So that's why we fall down as that piece, that cog within the system. But there was no focus, or not no focus. That's the wrong word to say, but very little focus on the merchandise side of things. It was always an afterthought. It was always 2 weeks before the tour started. Oh shit, we need to get some merch done on there. Sure, you guys have faced it before, where you're in there, no one's really thought about it. It's just a last minute. We've done it. I've done it with bands that I'm managing, and I own the merch company.
Yeah.
So it's that's probably why they don't want me managing them anymore. But the whole point, it has changed now to an extent that because that revenue stream, certainly from CD sales, has dissipated to a major degree. There are other areas that people are trying to look to monetize, which you've alluded to just in our conversation today. Yeah. But certainly on the merchandise, it has brought a bit of focus into to more of the artists.
And merchandising is obviously becoming part of the ticket bundle or ticket bundle options that people get offered.
Yeah.
See, the thing is, for me, with merchandising, I totally agree with you. It's almost like an afterthought. We've done the rehearsals, we've got the gigs ready to go, we've sold the tickets. Right, who's printed up the T-shirts? Oh shit, no one's done it. All right, okay, well, there's a massive potential to be tapped there. and you know, one of the things I'm talking about with one of the bands I'm sorting stuff out with at the moment is we've actually talking with a designer to do loads of clothes. It isn't just like a t-shirt with a logo on.
Yeah.
She's actually going to be designing the clothes. She's going to be designing all bits and bobs with them. And I think if you can
That's where it's got to go.
yeah, it's got to go that way
Yeah.
because once again, it's back to that thing that I was saying about value for money for the fan.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, the afterthought of the t-shirt with a logo on and you stick it on. The potential of get yourself hooked up with, you don't have to go to one of the big name designers. Get somebody out of fashion college or whatever, you know, just hook up with somebody.
It's still not
Look,
being
there's-
addressed in
there's-
the way that it should be, but by the same token, sorry, very quickly, Johnny, but by the same token, I totally get
Yeah.
that you as an artist and the management and around, you just focused on trying to get the other essential bits
Yeah.
together, because that's hard enough as it is. So there are some times there where it kind of falls down beneath the cracks,
Totally.
and it's a little bit.
I'm
it's-
guilty of that as well.
you know, it's difficult to do it. We try and I would hope, and I know other merch companies try and do it, is where we try and be that easy springboard. Just go, right, give us this, and just give us the assets, and then we try and do that thinking process.
Yeah.
However, it still comes back where you've got to get the artist to actually just focus, bit of attention, bit of approval
Yeah.
on there, and sometimes it's not that easy. I get it.
Well, yeah,
Sometimes they're
I-
sitting there going, well, it's not quite right to
I'm-
how I want it, and I get that.
I'm
you know,
guilty of that. I'm guilty of that. I remember spending 2 months designing the cover of an album, and then literally about a week before going on tour, somebody going, "Oh, has anyone thought about the merchandise?" And it's like, "Oh, no," you know. And it's got to be drummed into the artists as well.
It's
Somebody's got.
absolutely
There's a
crucial.
potential is massive.
Yeah, it's crucial now more than ever. you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
And it's the artists that come up with creative
People want that
merchandise,
connection,
like
don't they?
British Sea Power, that are the ones that are
Yeah.
going to sort of capitalise on
Yeah.
it. But
When you mention them, they do a fantastic range of stuff.
Yeah. fantastic. I'm going to have to end the panel here. Are you able to stick around for a bit
Yeah.
after? You know, if you want to talk and ask questions of the guests, then feel free to do it. We're going to have a shorter break, maybe like a 5-minute break before we start again. But yeah, come up and talk to Jagz and Murray and Andy, and let's give them a round of applause.